Count ka lang ha, tas sabihan. Good day, everyone. We are from Bachelor of Science in Nursing, fourth year level from Section 12, and we are going to report CU5 from the Nursing Leadership and Management, which is all about the organizational communication. Next slide. So this is the unit of the expected outcomes, wherein our learning objectives are as follows. For the cognitive, students will be able to recognize the different models and theories of communication and give appropriate examples or situations in which they are utilized. Secondly, we will be able to enumerate the barriers of effective communication in healthcare settings and how to solve those barriers. Third is to identify the steps and procedures on how to record meeting minutes correctly, cite and describe the different reports utilized in nursing, and to differentiate external and internal customers and explain the need in keeping them satisfied with the services provided. Next slide. For the effective, students will be able to work effectively in collaboration with the inner, intra, and multidisciplinary and multicultural teams. Join actively in class, discussions, and group activities that the reporters are prepared on. Appreciate and support one's opinion and comments towards each other. Engage in life learning with a passion to keep current with national and global developments. Accept responsibility for life learning rather, own personal development and maintenance of competence. Next slide. And lastly, under psychomotor, demonstrate effectiveness, efficiency in the implementation of plans, apply essential tasks performed by the managers in a variety of settings, and to use appropriate technology in implementation of a good plan. Next slide. Okay, but before we discuss the course outline, I would like to ask each and every one of you the definition or how do you define the word communication? So, communication is a process of interchanging ideas between the two individuals. It could be a good communication or a bad communication. While organization is a process or an outcome wherein it is the product of an organized level or structure. So, in other words, organization communication is a communication that is organized and structured. So if we will connect this on the medical field or in the nursing profession, it is an organized communication between the collaboration of the medical professionals in healthcare settings. So our course outline includes the models and theories of the communication. Secondly is the barriers of communication among healthcare providers and healthcare recipients. Written communication within the organization such as the memo, the meeting minutes, and the steps on how to record meeting minutes. The types of reports in nursing, which includes telephone reports, audio reports, and as such. And lastly is the proper preparation and conduct of meeting minutes. Next slide. So let's delve into the first outline of our presentation, which includes the model and the theories of communication.
So, good day everyone. I am Boral and I will going to discuss the models and theories in communication. So, first, we're going to discuss the transmission model of communication. So, in transmission model of communication, it is a linear transmission mode of communication, and also it describes the act of text messaging since the sender isn't sure that the meaning was effectively conveyed or that the message was received at all. So in transmission model, the main focus in here is the sender, which is the sender is the source of information. So before the message will be sent to receiver, uh, in the next slide, we have the model. So, for the next slide po, Here in the model, as we can see, there is the source of information, which is the sender, and the sender will encode the message. And in this model also there is a noise. The noise represents that not all messages are will be sent fast in a faster way. So like for example, when we're having a email to another person, before we send it, we need to have our stable Wi-Fi connection or data connection. But because of the hamper in signal or in a poor signal, the email will not be sent immediately. So the noise we represent in actual is the noise around us. So for example, we're in a clinical area. Before the patient and the doctor understand each other, there is a hamper to their communication, which is the noise around them. So, after the noise, the message will be decoded and the message will be received by the receiver. So, this model is made by Shannon Weaver. So Shannon Weaver is the one who made this kind of theory or model. So Shannon Weaver consists of basic elements such as source, encoder, medium, decoder, receiver, and noise. Those things are he thinks that the communication is really effective if there is such things. So for the next slide, sorry, for the example of transmission model of communication, I have the best example for this is when we're in clinical area, where we ask for the prescription of medicine from the doctor. So the doctor is the source of information because the doctor is the only one who will prescribe us a medication. And the doctor will send directly to the patient what's the information about the medication, and also what's the route, and what's the importance of that kind of medicine when the patient takes it. So for the next slide, so we have here the interaction model of communication. In an interaction model of communication, which participants alternate positions as sender and receiver and generate meaning by sending messages and receiving feedback with physical and psychological context. They alternate positions as sender and receiver. Back and forth communication process that is in basic communication. So in interaction model here, the main focus in here is uh, the back and forth of the message will be sent by the sender and will be received by the receiver. But the receiver is not just a receiver. He or she can be also a sender, and the sender can be a receiver also. For the best example of this is applying for malasakit at the clinical area or in the hospital area, where the malasakit foundation or the malasakit for the Malasakit Foundation, asking questions directly to the patient or to the guardian of the patient, and they are asking the important information, and then they are interchanging answers and their messages. Like for example, the sender, which is the member of the malasakit, is asking personal information about the guardian or the patient who is asking for help. So the guardian or that patient will tell the personal information of him or her, and the interaction model will be conduct on that kind of communication. So for the next slide, here is the model of interaction model of communication, where the sender becomes also receiver, and the receiver becomes also rather a sender. So in this kind of model, it is now popular in our generation because when we're not interchanging communication, we're not able to understand each other. So next slide. Next slide is the transactional model of communication. So for the transactional model of communication, the sender encodes the message using a method such as speech or writing. And the receiver decodes the message by listening or reading. Context and noise are two critical barriers to effective communication. So, from the word barriers, it will be the one who will interfere or hamper our communication. Like, for example, for the writing method, in writing method we are writing a message to receiver, and for the barrier of that kind of communication, there is a context or a miss words on that kind of communication. So in sending a text messages on or an email, maybe we can have some mistake, like putting or typing a wrong words or a wrong spelling of words. And for the noise, like for my example earlier, the noise will hamper the communication personally. The noise, which is the noise around them. So there is in transactional model, there is no delay between messages. So possibly the message will be directly sent to the receiver. So in transactional model, the best example for this is the morning nurse will have his or her morning routine. So in his or her morning routine, he will be having a communication to the patients, especially in the general ward. So the nurse will able to have his or her speech based on what the chart is saying. Like for example, the doctor wants a new prescribed medication to that kind of patient, so that the nurse will have his or her speech on that morning routine, and then he or she will discuss the medication that based on what the doctor prescribed. And also for the additional, for the next slide, sorry. So for the transactional model of communication, here we can see the sender encodes and decodes the message, and the receiver encodes and decodes also the message. Whereas the message will be conducted by the speech and by writing. And as we can see here, there is interfering of messages between the two two people, whereas the noise will hamper their communication. Next slide, please.
So for the Paplu theory of interpersonal relationship, so here Hildegard Paplu defined the nursing as an interpersonal therapeutic process that takes place when professionals specifically educated to be nurses engage in therapeutic relationship with people who are in need of health services. So um, Hildegard Paplu theory of interpersonal relationship emphasizes the importance of the nurse-patient relationship in achieving successful therapeutic outcomes. So Paplu viewed nursing as an interpersonal process where nurses and patient work together to solve health problems. So this relationship goes through four key phases. So next slide, please.
Okay, so this is the theory of the interpersonal relations according to Hildegard Peplow. So this theory emphasizes the nurse-patient interaction as a key to effective care. It outlines different phases such as the orientation, working, and determination, where the nurse helps the patient understand their health, engage in care process, and achieve recovery. For example, in this image, there is the nurse and the patient. The nurse has its own values, cultural race, beliefs, past experiences, expectations towards health, and preconceived ideas in doing or providing medical care to the patient. Tapos, there is this patient. So the patient have its own values in regards to the medical or health relations. the cultural race, beliefs, past experiences, and expectations that he or she is expecting that the nurse should give him or her. So sa theory kasi ni Hildegard Peplow, during the orientation phase, a nurse might explain a new diagnosis for the patient. Tapos syempre bago pa yung pasyente sa nurse, syempre iba yung mga values and cultural race na pinoportray ni patient na ibibigay niya dun sa nurse. Halimbawa, or for example, um, a patient um, a, a patient went to the hospital for a check-up. Tapos si patient, syempre iba yung concern niya. Tapos itong si nurse, i-address niya yung concern ni patient. So ano yung unang gagawin ng nurse? We have to establish rapport. Ayun tinatawag natin na nurse-patient relationship in order for them to collaborate to develop a treatment plan. To as future nurses or as a nurse, we have to build trust and promoting active participation in care. So ayun yung parang tinutukoy ni Hildegard Peplow sa interpersonal relations. Next slide po, please.
So the four key phases. The first one is the orientation phase. So in this phase, the patient recognizes the need for help and reaches out to the nurse. So the nurse assesses the patient's situation and health, establishing trust, and the patient expresses their concerns and shares expectation. So the example here is, for example, a patient comes to the hospital with severe abdominal pain. So the nurse will ask about the symptoms, medical history, and listen to the patient concern. So the patient needs a treatment and trusts the nurse to help them. So the nurse assesses the situation and begins to gather information to understand the patient condition better. The next is the identification phase. So in this phase, the patient starts to feel more connected with the nurse, so developing trust and a sense of belonging. The nurse selects the appropriate care and assistance needed to address the patient problems. So this phase involved creating a um, nursing care plan that empowers the patient and reduces the feelings of helplessness and hopelessness. So, the example here is after the initial assessment, the nurse identifies that the patient might be suffering from appendicitis and explain the possible course of treatment. So, the patient start to trust the nurse more, knowing the nurse is there to assist and provide care. Next slide, please. So the next phase is the exploitation. So here, the patient fully utilizes the nurse's expertise to address and solve health problems. So this phase represents the implementation of the nursing care plan, where the nurse helps the patient and find a solution to their concerns. So the example here is the nurse now implements the care plan by providing medication for pain relief, preparing the patient for surgery, and continuously monitoring the patient condition. So during this phase, the patient actively participates in their care by asking for clarification, following instruction, and cooperating with the medical team. So the nurse uses a communication technique to help the patient cope with anxiety before the surgery. Then next phase is the resolution phase. So, in this final phase, the patient health problems have been addressed and the nurse patient relationship comes to a close. So, this phase where both the patient and nurse review the outcomes and confirm that the patient needs have been met. So, the example here is after the surgery, the patient health improves and their abdominal pain is resolved. So the nurse reviews the post-operative care instruction with the patient and ensures that they understand how to manage their recovery at home. So the nurse-patient relationship concludes as the patient needs have been met and the patient ready for discharge. So this marks the end of the therapeutic relationship and both the nurse and patient reflect on the care provided. Next, please.
Let's move to the barriers of communication. So, according to a proverb given, not proverb rather, but is saying according to a movie entitled um, Big Boss, Boss Baby told this line that a good communication is that in a good communication there is a big wall, and that wall is um, a clog to a better communication. So let's delve to these barriers of the communication, especially to um, the medical field. Next slide po. So the first barrier of communication is the low health literacy. According to a study conducted by Sillinger et al. Of 2022, it indicates that individuals with low health literacy often struggle with adhering to prescribed medication regimens. So studies have shown that low health literacy is linked to a poor management of chronic diseases. For example, individuals with limited health literacy may not fully understand the treatment plans or medication instructions, leading to a worse health outcomes, leading to frequent hospitalization. In other words, the patient does not fully understand what does the medical care provider is trying to explain to him. Okay, let's delve with a deeper example. Example, a nurse is providing discharge instruction to a patient with diabetes. So si patient daw ay diabetic. The patient is given detailed instruction on how to manage their condition, including how to inject insulin, right? Kasi di ba pag diabetic, kailangan bigyan ng insulin and monitor their blood sugar levels. However, the patient has limited health literacy or information, rather knowledge, and struggles to understand medical terminology. So, in short, the patient does not know what those medical jargons or medical terminologies mean. Despite nodding in agreement, so the patient just nod and nod what does the nurse is trying to imply for, they do not grasp how to adjust their insulin, thus based on blood sugar readings. As a result of that, they mismanage their diabetes, leading us to a preventable hospital readmission within a week due to uncontrollable blood sugar level. So in other words, the patient low health literacy means that the patient does not fully understand what does a medical provider is trying to imply or trying to explain. This non-adherence contributes to a poor health management and increased healthcare utilization. So sa halip na mas mapabilis, mas bumabagal pa yung recovery ni patient. So that is how low health literacy means. Next slide po. Next is the cultural diversity. Cultural diversity can greatly influence communication in hospital, affecting how information is shared, stressed, and understood. So there was a study according to Liang of 2021 which highlights that the patients from different cultural backgrounds have distinct preferences for receiving medical information. For instance, a patient with cultural values from family involvement. We all know that we Filipinos involve families in regards to decision making, di ba? Might want their family, whereas a patient from a more individualistic culture might prefer one-to-one conversation with their doctor. So, understanding these cultural differences helps ensure that all patients receives clear and respectful care that meets their needs. So another example of cultural diversity is that this one. A nurse is caring for an elderly patient from a culture that highly values family involvement. in medical decision making. A nurse explains that the patient's treatment plan directly to the patient without involving the family. The patient seems hesitant and confused but does not voice concerns. Kasi iniisip niya, kasi he or she is thinking what does his family would think about his decision. So the patient's family later expresses frustration, feeling excluded from the conversation. So parang, ay, out of the place kasi hindi sila nai-include, which causes the patient to withhold information and decision from the nurse and reduces trust. So nawawala yung trust ng pasyente kasi ay nawala na out of place yung family. Hindi siya included. So understanding the family's cultural expectations would have allowed the nurse to involve them appropriately, improving communication and care. This cultural diversity is very rampant, especially here in the Philippines. Kasi we are a family-oriented country. So I guess this cultural diversity is actually a great barrier or number one barrier when it comes to communication. Next slide po. The third barrier is the cultural competence. Cultural competence fosters better teamwork among healthcare staff by helping them understand and respect each other's cultural backgrounds. So, what does cultural competence really means? There was a study conducted by Birch et al. Of 2022 shows that when a healthcare professionals are culturally competent, they can collaborate more effectively, reducing conflicts and improving patient care. In a hospital, this might mean that providers from different cultural backgrounds work together smoothly by acknowledging and valuing each other's perspective. I would like to stress out this kind of example. um, a doctor graduated who graduated at the University of the Philippines and a doctor graduated at the Our Lady of Fatima University. So from those two doctors, there are a lot of differences when it comes to their educational background. Let's say that Dr. A uses different style in treating diabetic mellitus type 1, while Dr. B uses another type of treatment plan in treating diabetic mellitus type 1 too. But their goal is just one, to alleviate and to treat the patient. Let's delve with this example. In hospital with a culturally diverse workforce, a nurse from one cultural background is uncomfortable working with a colleague kasi hindi niya kilala. Hindi niya gaanong gamay kung ano ba yung ginagawa nito sa hospital. Who has different views on end-of-life care. Okay, the critically ill patient. The nurse believes that, or let's say the nurse A believes in preserving life at all costs, while the nurse B values patient autonomy and supports the right to decline treatment. So, di ba magkakaiba na kagad yun? Si nurse A believes that life um, the end of life care should be preserved at all costs, while Nurse B believes that the patient has the right to decline treatment. So, with these two cultural competences, there is a great misunderstanding and conflicts which would arise during patient care discussions, especially during shifts. However, after attending cultural competence training, both professionals learn to respect each other's perspectives and work collaboratively to provide patient centered care, ultimately improving team dynamics and patient outcomes. So, ano yung mga seminars na binibigay dito? Halimbawa, seminar for cultural competence in clinical care nursing. So, that is one in order for both nurses or both medical professionals to work effectively and to collaborate for the patient care. Next slide po. Last barrier is the interprofessional communication education of healthcare providers. There was a study conducted by Smith et al. Of 2022 that doctors say interprofessional communication education is very crucial in healthcare settings because it helps to overcome challenges that arises when professionals from different disciplines interact. This education addresses the issue of specialized language and abbreviations used by doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, which can be confusing to those outside their specific role. So what does this mean? Let me give a good example for this. Um, During a morning handover or during a morning shift, a doctor informs rather the nursing team that a patient who experienced a MI or myocardial infarction needs close monitoring. However, my newbie na nurse, which is very unfamiliar with the abbreviation MI and assumes that it refers to a minor issue, leading to insufficient attention to the patient's condition. After receiving interprofessional communication training, the nurse learns the importance of clarifying abbreviations and technical terms, ensuring that all team members are on the same page regarding patient care. So what does this really mean? Dapat a nurse or both medical professionals from a specific organization or hospital or institution rather would have this standard abbreviations that they are following. For example, for example, as what I say, the word MI, it could be referred to myocardial infarction, minor issue, um, minor injury, so we don't know. So there should be a need for clarification in order for a medical provider to provide a good treatment plan or care for the patient. Next slide po. So let's move to the written communication within the organization. Okay, next slide. The first one is the memo writing. Memo writing, according to Perkinson Breezing of 2013, suggests that business memos have a twofold purpose. So, what is the twofold purpose of memo? The first one is that they bring attention to problems and they solve problems. Let me highlight the word attention, bring attention to problems and solve problems. Hence, it is essential to choose the recipient of a memo prudently and to ensure that everyone intended to receive it actually reads it. So what does this memo really means? I would like to give another um, mm, um, phrase. According to a 2017 cartoon movie entitled Boss Baby, Boss Baby said that a memo is something you write to give people information. Memos are for important things. It can bring people together. A memo can be call of arms, a manifesto, a poem. This is also true as what Oxford's Learner's Dictionary of 2019 says that a memo is a brief written message or report. Again, memo is a brief message or report. Pag masyadong mahaba, hindi na siya memo. Okay, next slide po. So there are components of memos. The first one is the header. Header includes the to, from, the date, and the subject lines. It is 1/8 of the memo. Let's see the example. Next slide nga po, please. Next pa po. Next pa. Isa pa po. Okay. So this is the example. The to, as what you can see from the example, the to, from, the date, and the subject. So to all nursing staff, from the head nurse, from the date wherein it was been created. It was created from last. It was created on October 6, 2024. And the subject of the memo is to new patient monitoring protocol, which would be effective on October 15. So that is the header. Next, ay pakibalik nga po. Isa pa po. Okay. The second component of memo is the opening, the context, and the text, which includes the purpose of the memo, the context, the problem, and the specific assignment or task. It is one-fourth of the memo. Next slide po. The third component of memo is the summary, the discussion segment. This is the details that support the ideas or plan of the memo. It is one half of the memo. So the last component is the closing segment, which includes the necessary attachments and the action that the reader should take and a notation about what attachments are included. Okay, doon nga po tayo sa may example. Okay. So, dear team, we are introducing a new patient monitoring protocol to enhance patient safety and improve the accuracy of health records. This protocol will take effect on October 15, 2024. From dear team to key changes, isang part po yan. Tapos, please ensure you attend the meeting, another part po yan. And the last, from sincerely, that is the another or the last part of the memo. So this is an example of a memo. Ginawa lang po namin siya pero it is just based on our understanding what are the parts of the memo. Okay, balik po nga po tayo dun sa okay, sa proper ways po. Okay, so the proper way in writing a memo includes first, keep your message short and concise. As what memo is being defined, memo is a brief written message or report. It should not be at least 4 paragraphs. It should be at least 3 or 2 paragraphs lamang. You should use bullets to highlight key points, or you can bold or italicize the words that you are trying to highlight for. Next is that memo is used to express the context or the purpose and to introduce the problem. So ano yung problem na gusto mong solusyonan? In the next paragraph, address what has been done or the need to be done to address the problem at hand. The third is to add a conclusion or to summarize the memo in order for them to clarify what you are trying to address, unexpected, and include also if there are any attachments such as file, PDF, or a video, which could be very helpful for a memo. Next po. Okay. The fourth one is focus on the recipient's needs. Ano yung kailangan ng mga recipients or ng makakabasa? Make sure that your communication addresses the recipient's expectations and what he or she should need to know. And you should also use simple language. Huwag masyadong complex. Keep paragraphs to less than 3 or 4 sentences. Next, or lastly, is to review the message and revise as needed before you disseminate the memo. Again, memo is usually sinesend po siya through email or pwede rin po na print. So, marami po siyang example kung ano po yung memo. So, next slide nga po. So, ito po yung isa sa mga example ng memo. Ito po ay printed memo. Pero, sa last part po kasi ng memo na example namin, nilagyan na lang po namin siya ng parang email or extension such as extension 1, 2, 3, 4 para po ma-highlight yung attachment. Okay. Next slide.
And for the meeting minutes are meeting notes that serve as the official record of a meeting. Effective meeting minutes can come in many different iterations from many different groups of people. They are an invaluable source of information for meeting attendees before, during, and after a team meeting. So when writing the minutes, we're going to follow a template and we won't just write anything carelessly. So hindi tayo basta-basta magsusulat ng basta-basta when during the during when writing the minutes. And for the next slide, please. Next. Okay. Steps on recording minutes. So the opening should. Okay. Next one. Yan. Yan. So when right. So for the opening is the meeting title. What would be the meeting title for, let's say, today? And the location is where the location of the meeting will be held, if it's in the school or in the hospital, and also indicate the time and the date of that meeting. Then, for present members, indicate their full names and titles, and along with the absent members. So, for example, Garcia as the head nurse, Patalio as the ICU nurse, and Dakuya as nurse educator. So indicate the full names and the title. And next is approval of agenda, whether the agenda was approved and shared. So the agenda of that meeting should be reviewed and approved. The copies should be distributed prior to the meeting. And for the approval of previous minutes, confirmation of approval and distribution of um, previous minutes. So indicate the last meeting. Let's say our last meeting is on August 21, 2024. And that should be approved and distributed to all members. Next is previous business. So summary of topics from the last meeting. So ano ba yung what is our last topic in the last meeting, or ano ba yung discussion natin about dun? Let's say our topic from our last meeting is nurse staffing levels. So we've talked about the need for more nurses in the ICU, and the nurse managers were asked to collect the data on nurse patient ratios in other areas, and it would it share it in the next meeting. Next slide, please. New business, summary of current agenda items, including actions, reasoning, and major points for against. So for our new business for today, or for our meeting, is, let's say, we will implement the new electronic health records, or the EHR system. For the action is the hospital will adopt a new electronic health record system by this time of month, or let's say by October we will implement EHR. For rationale for that is to improve efficiency and to reduce errors in patient records. Argument is some nurses were concerned about the learning curve, so how they will use the new system, the EHR system, but other nurses may support the EHR system because of for better patient care. And for additional motions, new motions not original to the agenda. So the present members may add motions during the meeting. So they may add something. Let's say they will add onboarding process of newly hired nurses. So uh, their processing is more faster and simpler. Next is the meeting agenda, or the topics for the next meeting. So what would be in our discussion in the meeting what would be our topics for the next meeting. And for the adjournment is end of time and next meeting date. Let's say our the time the meeting ended is by 7 p.m. So indicate that and indicate also the possible meeting date. Submission and approval. The minutes should include the recorder's and approver's names typically reviewed by the chairperson. Uh, it should be indicate the recorded by and approved by. Let's say it was recorded by uh, Garcia as the head nurse, and it was it's what and it was approved by the Fatalio as nurse educator. Then next would be the distribution. Right, the distribution. The secretary is responsible for sending the minutes to all members. So the secretary should include his name and uh, the meeting minutes should be distributed in all department by this time of date. It's for documentation of that minutes. And next slide please. Types of reports in nursing. Okay, next. According to Benzon, reports are oral, tape, or written exchanges of information between nurses and members of the health team. These include change of shift reports, telephone orders, and telephone orders and reports and transfer reports. These are used to hand over important patient information when nurses change shift. It could be oral, could be audio, or it could be tape. Next, next. For oral report is necessary to communicate for our fellow nurses. Oral report can be made in nurse station or in conference room. Essential information includes patient's name, medical diagnosis, nursing diagnosis, and any other uh, related cause of the patient's condition. For the example is nurses from both shift meets to share key details about about their patient. Let's say I will tell to my fellow nurse that my patient is recovering from surgery and he needs medication for pains and he will need to change his wound dressing. Yeah. And that would be for oral report. Next slide, please. I mean, that would be for oral report. And yeah, next is audio report. So this is made by for oral report, this is made by the outgoing nurse and relayed by the incoming nurse. The disadvantage of this report is immediate answers cannot be provided if any problems arise. Unlike in oral reports, those are made during rounds which can permit immediate feedback when needed. So let's say an outgoing nurse records patient's updates for the incoming nurse. Let's say my shift will end in the afternoon and there will be an incoming nurse that napapalit sa akin. So I will be telling to that incoming nurse that patient Ralph has a fever. So that incoming nurse needs to monitor Ralph's temperature because he has a fever and uh, he should give patient Ralph any analgesics and antibiotics because of his condition. Next is nursing rounds. So for nursing rounds are a way for nurses to gather and store important information about the patient. It's like a team meeting where nurses discuss the care of each patient, ensuring that everyone is on the same page. For the example is nurses discuss the patient's care plan at the bedside. So let's say I will tell to my fellow nurse that the patient needs physical therapy because of his injury. So it's like an oral report. Next is next slide, please. And I forgot. So note that for previous previous slide, the the audio the audio report for disadvantage of audio report is clarity of the audio. So it can suffer from background noise, medyo maingay, um, may sasakyan, ganyan, yung mga nag-uusap. So poor quality or unclear speech, uh, yung nag-record ng audio tape. And you can't easily verify the information for that audio because it's an audio tape. Then see you next slide. For telephone reports, there are occasions when nurses give telephone reports, update physicians about changes in the patient's condition or to another nurse in another unit. About the transferred patient, information given through telephone should be accurately transcribed by the receiving nurse and written from, especially if this pertains to medication or if significant significant events or changes in client's condition have occurred. So let's say, for example, use telephone reports used when updating doctors' patients about condition or transferring information between units. Let's say a patient Narba is having vomiting his medication recently, so he recently told me that he's vomiting his medication given by his doctor. So now the doctor is away. I will call from a telephone and I will inform the doctor that uh, patient Narba has been vomiting his medication. It was given to him. So I will tell him about the patient's condition, and that would be for telephone reports. Next slide. For transfer reports is when a patient are moved between departments or another facility. So let's say internal transfer is, for example, is internal transfer. So let's say the patient has a bleeding ulcer and is transferred from medical ward to the surgery, or let's say post-surgery transfer. The patient moved from uh, he was from recovery unit and he was moved to the medical ward, and that would be for transfer reports. Next slide. Next reporter.
Ayan, okay. Thank you, Mr. Sakolsan, and for that wonderful example. Charot. So, ayan. So, hello everyone. I'm Chester Narvaez. So, now let's proceed to the proper preparation and conduct of meetings. Next slide, please. Ay, hindi pala, hindi pala. So, ayan. So, in the title itself, preparation. So, these are the activities that we do in order to prepare prior to the meeting, and also the tasks that we do during the course of the meeting. So, according to Barbara Cherry and Susan Jacob, in their study in 2014, rather in their published book called Contemporary Nursing Issues, Trends, and Management. So, the following steps must be accomplished to manage effective meetings. Okay, first let's start with the pre-meeting work. So from the word prefix rather. So this is before the meeting itself. So for a meeting to be successful, there needs to be a structure to it. So there has to be like a system. Okay, a great meeting does not begin just at the start of the meeting, but rather it begins during the preparatory phase. So planning ahead will keep meetings from becoming long-winded get-togethers where very little is accomplished. Okay, let's proceed to number one. So determine the specific purposes for the meeting. Okay, dito, what is this meeting for? We are asking questions like, what are we trying to accomplish here? So an example I could think of is here in our course nursing leadership. So we have our tasks where we will conduct a seminar. So, in a section, we are having meetings or discussions, whether it be online or face to face. So, we are having meetings regarding our seminar in nursing leadership. So, why are we having these meetings? Ano nga ba dahilan? We are having these meetings, of course, to create our game plan regarding our seminar to run it as smoothly as we can. Another example to relate this to the nursing or to the medical field. So, for example, we are formulating our medical care plan for a patient. So, we are going to have meetings with other professionals, our colleagues. So, why are we trying to do this? Of course, like what I said earlier, we're trying to formulate the care plan that the patient needs, the best care plan that they can get. Okay, so for number two, create a list of meeting topics. So, a continuation of my example earlier, uh, like in the seminar. So, the president had prepared several topics relevant to the meeting prior to the meeting itself. Topics such as delegations, distribution of works, creation of committees, budgetary issues, and other stuff. So, we have to create a fact sheet. So, what are fact sheets? These are short, either handwritten or typewritten documents, which contains the most relevant information regarding the topic. So basically, this is a concise outline of the topics. It's much like the, what do you call this? Yung kanina, yung memo. Ganun din siya, concise siya. So this is to be distributed with the agenda. Okay, so what is the difference between the agenda and the fact sheets? So fact sheets merely contain information regarding the topics only. Meanwhile, yung agenda naman, of course, contains the information regarding the whole meeting. So the entirety na siya. But this is to be elaborated later on. Now let's proceed to the number three. So determine the meeting attendees. So ayun, continuation again of my example earlier. So who are the attendees? So these are individuals or groups who have valuable insights or who are affected by decisions made during the meeting. So ayun nga, sa example ko kanina, yung meeting sa seminar, sino yung mga attendees doon? Of course, yung mga yung mga students na nabigyan ng task ngayon, yung mga students. Oh, every single one of us will be affected because each and everyone is obligated to participate and contribute to the success of the meeting as well as the seminar. Okay, let's proceed to number four. So determine the date, time, and location for the meeting. So in order to maximize meeting attendance, ask the attendees what date and time would work with their schedule. So everyone should kind of compromise so the meeting may take place. Pero of course, in a way pa rin na convenient to sa schedule ng everyone. So ayan, next slide please. Okay. So number five, create the meeting agenda. So ito yung kanina. So an agenda should contain the following. First, title of the group meeting. So yung title could be whatever you want as long as it's concise and siguro catchy. So you can also put the purpose as the topic title so everyone may have an understanding already of what the meeting will be about. The second, date, time, and location of the meeting. Also yung purposes or yung purpose ng meeting. So, um, ayan, in sentence form. And lastly, for the agenda items. So these are like the topics or subtopics along the meeting. So it should be indicated there the time allotted for each item. So sino yung person or persons na responsible sa pag-report ng mga item na yon. And number six, lastly, for the pre-meeting. So 1 week before the meeting, send the meeting agenda to the attendees so everyone will come prepared. Tapos ano naman, 2 days before the meeting, yung the day of the meeting, send a reminder. So a message to remind the people about the meeting in case nakalimutan or whatsoever. So next slide please. Okay, so now we are done with the preparations or the pre-meeting. Let's now proceed to during the meeting itself, yung mga tasks na ginagawa natin during the meeting. So number one, we must ensure that the participants' comfort needs are met. So during a meeting, preferably everyone is sitting in an oval or circular arrangement. Why is that? Because in this manner, everyone is facing everyone. So this makes the meeting more personal, and this promotes active communication between the attendees. So we can prevent that uncomfortable feeling of being left out in the conversation, which leads to non-participation. So iniiwasan natin dito yung tinatawag natin yung ma-OP or ma-out of place. So ayun, pag ganun kasi hindi na nagpa-participate yung isang attendee. Number two, ask for volunteers to fulfill the following roles. So there should be someone who leads and organizes the whole meeting, ensuring the team focuses on the agenda and facilitates the decision-making process. So which is the leader. Second, there should be someone who keeps track of the schedule of the meeting and its length, which is the timekeeper. And lastly, there must be someone who takes notes, records, or yung in charge sa documentation ng mga important decisions, which is the recorder. So next slide, please. Okay, now we tackle the roles of the leader in guiding the meeting. First, process one agenda at a time. So the leader must ensure that each issue is given full attention. No relevant information is omitted, walang topic na magsistay na untackled bago tayo tumalon sa another topic. Second, allow the timekeeper to do their job. So the leader could elect someone to be the timekeeper and at the same time help them keep the meeting on track rather. So make sure the meeting flows in accordance to the desired schedule and duration. So for example sa ano 'di ba sa medical field like pag gumagawa tayo ng nursing care plan or medical care plan, so very crucial ang time doon. So there must be someone who will reminds us na ganito, limited time lang tayo, kailangan natin magawa to within the certain time frame. So next, the briefing at the end of the meeting. So the leader may ask questions like what went well with the meeting and what can we improve upon for the next meeting. So this, in order to evaluate the whole course of the meeting, so wait lang, ayun. So we have to analyze here what was successfully discussed, what no longer needs repetition, and also what are the lacking aspects of the meeting that needs to be tackled in future discussions rather. So these questions should be used at the end of each meeting to improve subsequent meetings or yung other future meetings. So next slide, please. Okay, now let's proceed to the patient satisfaction and customer services provided. Okay, so patient satisfaction is on the list of nurses' primary agenda. So we nurses are confronted to meet a comprehensive range of patient needs, from personal care of the patient to the extent of family support that we give. So in the world is expecting a lot from us. So we have to be competent and competitive enough to survive this competitive field. Especially since ngayon kasi 'di ba We are even competing with hospitals now, home health agencies, ambulatory clinics, and even hospice agencies for patients. So sinusukat nila kasi kung sino yung mga tao na who can provide the best care possible that those patients deserve. Kaya parang even yung mga institution na yun, nagiging ang tawag dito, competition na natin when it comes to healthcare. So, sabi dito, to evaluate the success of a healthcare facility and measure patient satisfaction with healthcare services, while incorporating the physician's behavior as a moderating factor between patient satisfaction and healthcare services. This is according to Manzor and others in 2019. So, syempre, healthcare services are holistic. So, this does not only focus on the medical services that we can provide, but also on how we treat them. So, syempre, as a patient, di ba you would prefer someone who is kind, who is humane, someone who respects your humanity and dignity, while at the same time giving you the best medical care that you can get. So, this serves like a moderator or an additional rather to patient satisfaction or the given healthcare services. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so sabihin, ayan. So next, let's proceed to the customers. So customers can be categorized as external and internal depending on their relationship to the organization. Okay, first, let's start with the external customers. So these are not employed by the organization, and this includes patients and families, in addition to physicians and others who serve as referral sources for new patients. Okay, so this includes patient and families. So these are the clients who inquire for or need our patient care services. So they are the ones who are outside of the organization. They do not belong. So an example of an organization is a hospital. So every patient that seeks professional care in a hospital is an example of an external customer. So also sabi dito, di ba, physicians and other physicians and others who serves as referral services for patients. So I guess yung mga physicians or doctors na sinasabi dito, even if they are in the same field as us, which is the medical field, basta they are outside of our organization, they may be working from other hospitals, tapos transfer or ni-refer sa hospital natin yung care. Kumbaga, inter-organizational yung process. So they can still be considered as external customers. Now, let's proceed to the internal customers naman. So they are employed by the organization and may include patient care uh, staff members of other departments, laboratory or dietary, administrators, social workers, dietitians, and therapists. So, ayun. So, kung sa external customers kanina, ito yung outside of our organization. Dito naman sa internal customers, they are those within or employed by our organization. So, syempre, hindi lang naman patients yung nangangailangan ng services nating nurses. We also have our colleagues from different professions but on the same medical field who needs us. So, di ba, there are patient care which requires collaborative work. So, for example, a patient who had a traumatic head injury is in need of a CT scan or MRI. So since these tasks are outside of our expertise, we refer them to those who are in charge of such work. Those who are in radiology department or the radiologists. So same goes with the dietary. So yung mga diets ng patients, yung mas experts dyan are those who are uh, like what do you call this? Yun yung mga dietitians, tapos yung mga social workers naman yung kunyari na uh, nakalabas na si patient dun sa care natin ng hospital. So yung mga social workers yung in charge ng welfare nila once na outside na sila. So, ayan. So, that's it for internal customers. So, next slide, please. Ayun. So, ay, yun pa pala. So, ayun, yung medical care na binibigay kasi natin is holistic. So, very vast siya. Basta napakarami at napakalawak ng scope. At hindi siya kaya ng isang tao lang o kaya hindi siya kaya ng maraming tao, pero nasa isang department lang siya. Tapos, yung isang department na yun, sakop niya lahat. So, that won't work because the workload is too much. That's why we have different departments. So, we have different departments to give the best services as possible. And when needed, they seek help from other departments. And once again, what do we call for those who inquire services from other departments for a collaborative care? So they are called our internal customers. Okay, so next, here for the terminology. So these are just the definition of terms of phrases or terms that were discussed all throughout our discussion. Next slide, please. Okay, so for synthesis, who would like to share your takeaways? Anyone?
Okay, for our synthesis, let me synthesize the whole presentation in accordance to organizing communication. So, um, the goal is to provide critical information that ensures the patient's care, which should remain continuous, safe, and aligned with the treatment plan. Accurate communication between nurses is essential, but rather not just nurses, but the whole medical professional in the institution is essential to avoid errors and to ensure the patient's well-being. Um, for instance, the change of shift reports, right, which are crucial for ensuring seamless patient care by passing on important information about diagnosis, treatments, and care plans. For the effective organizational communication, which involves clear protocols between departments and management, which ensure timely updates and prevents errors. As the proverb goes, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, highlighting the need for throughout the precise communication to remain or to maintain patient safety and care continuity. It is also true as a proverb says that many hands make light work, which reflects the value of teamwork and effective collaboration in achieving complex tasks such as patient care in hospital setting. Another is that two heads are better than one, right? Which emphasizes the importance of collaborative communication, ensuring that different perspectives and expertise comes together to improve patient outcomes. And lastly, for the synthesis rather, what is not said cannot be heard. This is a great reminder, or this is a great reminder for given to me by a nurse during my duties that it is important to be open and clear in communication, especially in a fast-paced healthcare environment, whereas assumptions can lead to mistakes. So it is better to confirm everything that you don't understand rather to know all the learnings. So that's all for our presentation. I hope you learned something new. So let me introduce our team. Next slide po. So this is the related review of the literatures. Next slide. So here are members from starting from Miss Borel, Mr. Camacho, Miss Concepcion, yours truly, Mr. Fatalio, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Granada, Miss Itoralde, Mr. Narvaez, Miss Ordines, Miss Parale, Mr. Sakulsan, Miss Yupango, and I guess it was not included here in the presentation. But Miss Dakuya is also a member of our team. So that's all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new in our presentation. Stop mo na na record.